From the editors of Cook's Illustrated magazine, it's America's Test Kitchen. With your host, Christopher Kimball. Featuring Test Kitchen chefs Julia Collin-Davison, Bridget Lancaster, Becky Hayes, with Adam Reed in the equipment corner and Jack Bishop in the tasting lab. Discover the secrets of America's foremost food testers and tasters today on America's Test Kitchen. Today on America's Test Kitchen, Bridget shows Chris how to make the perfect pan-seared steak and serves it with potato galette. Finally, Chris reveals his top pick for wine openers. That's all right here on America's Test Kitchen. America's Test Kitchen is brought to you by DCS by Fisher & Paykel. America's cooks rely on innovation and culinary precision. DCS by Fisher & Paykel, offering premium indoor and outdoor kitchen appliances.
And by Kohler, inspiring home chefs to create a professional-level kitchen with innovative sinks, faucets, and cook centers. Kohler.
And by Diamond Crystal Salt for the professional chef and those who want to cook like one. Diamond Crystal, the gourmet choice. By Cooking.com, an online retailer for the kitchen enthusiast. If it's not in your kitchen, try ours. By Plum Amazins, diced dried plums from Sunsweet for amazing recipes. By Miracle Grow, the gardener's friend. By California Avocados. And by Chateau Saint Michel.
So let's get down to business here. Steak with a beautiful pan sauce. We're not just going to make any old pan sauce. We want to replicate those that you find in France that always start with one of those beautiful demi-glace. And that's basically a base that they use for a lot of sauces, and it takes all day to make. So we're not going to spend all day roasting veal bones because I don't have any, and I don't have the time either. So we're going to make kind of a semi-demi here.
A semi-demi?
A semi-demi. This is our own version of a sauce base that is going to taste incredible. Now, in this Dutch oven, I have a tablespoon of vegetable oil, shimmering over medium-high heat. This is 8 ounces of ground beef, and this is 85% lean. I'm also going to add a tablespoon of tomato paste right in there. Now, these two ingredients are absolutely essential. The beef is going to give our stock some great heavy flavor of beef. And the tomato paste actually contains glutamate, which gives that kind of meaty flavor itself. That ground meat has tons of cut surfaces. So instead of taking hours and hours and hours to extract the flavor out of meat, we can do it in just mere moments, okay? Just like the ground beef, we want to cut up the vegetables that we're using into really small pieces so we can extract the flavor out very quickly. We're going to use the food processor for this. This is 1 small onion, just chopped up kind of rough, along with 1 small carrot, and a couple of cloves of garlic. In they go. And these are cremini mushrooms, 8 ounces. These really give tons of flavor to our quick stock. You want the pieces to be about 1/8 of an inch thick. All right, Chris, let me check and see how you did here. And that was 8 minutes, and those look like bacon bits, don't they? A lot of people would think that this is too brown. This is actually a ton of flavor, and the beef is not burnt. I'll go ahead and add the vegetables right in. All right, so those vegetables add a ton of moisture to the pan, so we need to let all that moisture evaporate, and that's going to take about another 8 minutes. Oh, it's smelling so good. The meat and all those vegetables have given tons of their flavor. It's all deepened. So now we're going to bring it up into a liquid. I'm going to use 2 cups of dry red wine to deglaze this pot. If you could take that wooden spoon and just scrape up all the brown bits that are on the bottom and even on the sides. All right, so looks good. Now this is 4 cups of low sodium beef broth. And 4 little sprigs of thyme.
You're baiting me, you know that.
I know. What do you think of that, Chris?
Okay, here's the speech. It only takes 10 seconds. 4 sprigs in all of this does nothing.
No, it does a ton because we're not just using the leaves. There's tons of flavor.
A branch.
In
Get
the
a branch.
stem. All right.
Okay.
Well, when you make yours, you can use a branch. Today, we're using 1, 2, 3, 4 sprigs.
Already lost.
I've got 2 bay leaves or the equivalent. These are all crushed up. Those are right in there. And 2 teaspoons black peppercorns. Now, is that enough for you?
No, I'm all in favor of those. That's a good number.
So we're going to bring this up to a boil, reduce the heat down to a gentle simmer. We want to reduce this whole mixture until it measures about 2 cups, and that's going to take 20 to 25 minutes. All right, well, you can see that this mixture has reduced greatly. So now we want to strain this in a smaller saucepan. Just want to pour this right through.
Here's Bridget's little sprig. It's done its work.
So just pressing out as much of the liquid as I can, and we should get about a cup of liquid. A true demi-glace is gelatinous, but that's because there's tons of gelatin in the veal bones. That's right. Well, we didn't use veal, and we want it to have that body. It's that body that gives the pan sauces that luxury. This is 2 packets of powdered gelatin. That works out to about 5 teaspoons, and I'm just going to sprinkle it right over the top here. Now that's quite a bit, but it's really going to give us the correct texture. Just want to stir that in.
You don't have to let it sit and bloom on top or anything.
No, just really dissolve it in there. So now we're going to bring this up to a simmer. This time it's going to take between 5 to 7 minutes. We want to reduce this by half. All right, so we are finally here. These are beautiful strip steaks from the sirloin. Tons of marbling. They're not as tender as the filet mignon, but they have so much more flavor. Now we want to turn this into 4 smaller steaks so that we can better fit them into our skillet later on. So each of these weighs about a pound. You want to get those that are about 1.5 to 1 3/4 inches thick. Pat them dry with paper towels, just all over. That's because any moisture that's on the outside will start to steam. So next of all, just want to sprinkle these quite liberally with salt and pepper. And we like to use kosher salt when we're seasoning because we can better control it. So now, I'm going to place these right on baking sheet, just like so. And we're actually...
So what is this, like baked steaks?
Kind of. We're rethinking steak. You know when you sear a steak and you cut into it, it has that gray band, and it's pretty thick.
Around
that
the
gray,
outside, the top
around
and
the
bottom.
edge,
Yeah.
That's right. And that's where it's overcooked. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna start this in a moderately low oven. It's 275. We're gonna slow roast these for just a little bit, really to raise their internal temperature. Then later on, we're gonna give them a sear, and it won't have that gray band. So for medium rare, the internal temperature will raise to about 90 to 95 degrees, and that's going to take between 20 to 25 minutes.
So one of the things Bridget just did was dry off the steak and then put it in the oven, and that's also to get the top and bottom very dry. I don't think that's that important. I kept asking that question. Wet steak, dry steak, put in a hot pan, all that moisture is going to go away in seconds. Wrong. Here's what we found out. Room temperature water up to boiling versus boiling water to steam. You got to get the water away before you really start cooking. It takes 8 times more energy to go from boiling to steam than room temperature to boiling. So here's the test we did. A wet steak, a dry steak, both in a hot pan with hot oil, about 450 degrees. The wet steak brought that temperature of the oil down just in minutes to 100 degrees Fahrenheit. The dry steak was 160, 60 degrees higher. You have to get both of those up to 300 before you start browning. So a wet steak sucks up a lot of energy from that hot oil, and the hot pan takes a lot more time to start the browning process. In fact, you're going to get a lot of steaming in that pan, not browning.
And here they are. Now you can see that another advantage of using that low oven, these steaks are very dried on the outside. And that's actually a good thing because that's going to give us a better crust. So let me just check the temp here. All right,
Yep,
so we're
perfect.
right about 95 degrees. All right, so good to go. Now, we need to brown these steaks. And I've gone ahead and heated up 1 tablespoon of vegetable oil. So I'm starting to see the first wisps of smoke. So in go all of the steaks. Just fit them all in the pan at once. I'm just going to take my hand and just gently press down on them to make sure that the entire steak is sitting on the bottom of the skillet. Now we're going to brown this first side. It's really not going to take very long, just about 1.5 to 2 minutes at the max. And about halfway through, I'm going to lift up a steak, each one at a time, let a little bit of that oil go back under the steak so it browns evenly.
Well, that's actually a really good point, because if you didn't have oil in the pan, the bottom of the steak isn't flat.
That's right.
So with the oil, it sort of fills in the gaps and cooks everything.
Exactly. Nice, even, dark brown crust. All right, so time to flip the steaks over, and you can see how gorgeous they are on that second side. Evenly browned.
Those are gorgeous.
Aren't they incredible?
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to let this go for another 2 to 2.5 minutes on the second side, and that's because the pan has cooled down a little bit, so it's not going to brown quite as quickly. All right, so let's take a peek at that second side. Gorgeous. Perfect. All right, so let me take all of these out. Now, we want to get the rim, the outer rim as well, because we want this to be brilliantly colored as well. Nice, deep, dark crust. I'm going to lower the heat just a bit to medium. I'm going to take 2 steaks at a time, grab them with my tongs, and stand them up. It's going to take about 1.5 minutes to brown all the way around each pair of steaks. I'd say these look pretty good all over.
Excellent.
All right, so we do want to let these rest for just about 10 minutes on a rack so that the crust stays nice and crisp. So I'm just going to tent these with foil. And I should also say this isn't the same rack that the meat roasted on in the oven.
Because we'll get about 550 emails in the next 10 minutes.
Exactly. This is a clean rack. So we're going to finish our pan sauce. We've made our base. We're going to finish the sauce. So I'm going to turn it to medium-low here. Got 1 minced shallot. It's going to go right in here. It's going to cook very quickly, maybe 1 to 2 minutes. Really, we're just looking for the shallots to get softened and slightly golden. All right, so now we want to stop the cooking. We don't want them to burn. So I've got a ½ cup of dry white wine. Et voila. Just going to scrape up all those bits on the bottom, the fawn, incorporate it into the wine there. Perfect. So now I'm going to take that sauce base. And we want to use a 1/4 cup. Just go ahead and pour it right into here. We're going to add this right into the pan, along with 1/4 teaspoon white wine vinegar. Just going to brighten the sauce. So we just want to cook this until it's slightly thickened, and that's going to take 1 minute at the most. All right, so let's finish this sauce. I'm going to pull it off heat. We don't want to cook down anymore. Now it's time to add our herbs. We're adding them at the last minute so they retain their freshness. It's 1½ teaspoons of freshly snipped chives. And 1½ teaspoons of parsley, also fresh. 1 teaspoon of tarragon. Just stir that in there. Now we're also going to add in just 1 tablespoon of unsalted butter. We don't need all the butter in there because the gelatin is going to give this pan sauce tons of body. We are done. We can serve this with the steak. Those are gorgeous.
Those do look gorgeous.
Lots of luscious pan sauce
This
right over the
does
top.
absolutely look like bistro sauce.
Look at that.
Yeah.
It's gorgeous.
Are you ready?
I am so ready for this.
Oh, look at that steak. Perfectly cooked. Ooh.
Super juicy. Look how beautiful that is. No dark edge. And what a sauce that is. I mean, it's just got so much flavor. And it clings to the steak, too.
So a fabulous pan-seared steak, oddly enough, starts with a sauce. And we made the equivalent of a demi-glace, but did it very quickly. We used some ground meat. We used a lot of glutamates, those mushrooms, beef broth, reduced that down. Meanwhile, strip steaks went into the oven, back into the pan, quick saute, and then we finished up our sauce with nice fresh herbs. America's Test Kitchen, New York Kitchen, a fabulous recipe for pan-seared steak with a delicious herb sauce. À la Brigitte.
À la Brigitte. Mais oui.
What happens if you go to a nice restaurant and order a bottle of wine when the waiter comes over and he or she opens it with a waiter's corkscrew, just like this, which is my go-to device in the kitchen. I've tried many things over the years. Actually, for a while, I was into electric, battery-operated corkscrews. But
You're more of a gadget hound than I am.
Well, this is the one that I can actually find all the time. And so, I put it down, get it part way down, all the way out, and there you have it. Now, that wasn't too hard, but since we live in a consumer society, we have lots of different kinds of corkscrews. In fact, the last few years, there are dozens and dozens of new designs. I'm here with Adam to sort that out and see if the waiter corkscrew still makes the most sense. I hope it does.
That was a good example of how to use that, and I expect you're probably fairly experienced in opening bottles of wine, right?
Yeah.
That's why that one's easy for you. It's not easy for everybody. It takes a lot of different steps. This is the one that I declared the ultimate corkscrew years ago when we did our first corkscrew test. It's a lever-operated corkscrew, and I will show how it works. You just slip it over the bottle like that, you squeeze the trigger to secure it, and you use this lever to plunge the worm into the cork, and it comes out just that easily. This was a great corkscrew.
Yeah.
It's
How
not
much was
small
it?
for storage, and it wasn't cheap. It was $100.
Okay.
So we went back to the drawing board this time, Chris. We had a bunch of different kinds. I found 17 different corkscrews in all. The price range was $8 to $100. There are a couple of basic means by which these operate. You demonstrated the waiter's corkscrew. I demonstrated the lever corkscrew. This one operates by continuous turning. You just keep turning the lever, and eventually the worm will go into the cork and pull it back up. This is an innovation, I think, from your era. the 50s,
Or
where it's
before.
a wing-type corkscrew where you turn this on top of the bottle, press the wings down, the cork comes up. Of these 17 corkscrews, we did a bunch of pre-testing, and we eliminated all of these 10 corkscrews out of the running because they were too complicated for people to use. Then I went out into the office, I found a bunch of experts, not hard to find, and a few novices, which were definitely hard to come by in this office, to test these corkscrews. We just wanted them to be easy to use, no special skills or dexterity required, minimal effort, minimal damage on the cork. And when we were all done after opening cases upon cases of wine, good testing this one was, it was another lever model that actually came out on top. This is the OG Nautilus, and I want you to give this a try. This one is a little more compact than the last lever model we chose. It's also a lot less expensive at $25. And does it work? Does it work?
Ah! Yes,
How
it
easy
does.
is that? You have to admit it's easier than your waiter's type corkscrew. So that is our new winner. It's the OG Nautilus. It's great, and it's 25 bucks.
So the tr0 double level waiter's corkscrew at $11 is a bargain. Actually works pretty well. But if you like a little more design and you don't open that many bottles of wine I do, for $25, the OG Nautilus actually was our test kitchen winner. Are potatoes just your ordinary vegetable? No, they're super vegetables. They're America's favorite food. We roast them, we boil them, we fry them, we even bake them, and once in a while we turn them into casseroles. How about a mashed potato casserole? Well, pretty much the same as mashed potatoes is not that great. Or you can scallop potatoes like this, cream, butter, and guess what? The potatoes just get lost. The fat takes over. Now, the French have a better idea. It's called the potato galette. It's a potato cake, and it's made of sliced potatoes. It's light, it's elegant, it's a better way to do potato casserole. Let's go into the kitchen with Bridget and figure out the secrets to a great French-style potato galette.
All right, so we are going to make a foolproof potato galette, one that sticks together when you slice it, one that has a beautiful brown top. It's actually cooked through. That's another problem. Sometimes the surface is beautiful and brown, but the interior is not cooked through. And we're not going to use specialized equipment. We're also not going to clarify butter. Not going to be picky about this, but we are going to use potatoes. We've got 2.5 pounds, and these are Yukon Gold potatoes. We need to make the potato slices very thin, 1/8 of an inch thin. And unless you're great with a chef's knife, this is going to take you forever, and you're going to get some that are thick, some that are thin. It's not going to cook evenly. So you can either use a mandolin like this, or if you have a food processor, you can use the food processor, a slicing blade.
These make me nervous.
Let's try not to. No, this is not the guillotine. This is a mandolin here. So we're going to use that to chop the potatoes. It does come with this great guard as well. So let me show you how we're going to use that. There we go.
Safe potatoes, I always say.
Now the problem with potatoes are that their starch level can vary from potato to potato, batch to batch. That means a lot of trouble. Sometimes they'll be more cohesive, sometimes they'll kind of slither apart and they won't have that cohesiveness. All right, so we are there. We're gonna start and even off the playing field, so to speak. We're gonna get rid of any of the surface starch that's on the exterior of these sliced potatoes. Just basically dump them right into this bowl. And I just want to swish them around. You can see all that starch coming right out. The water is all milky now. So just want to drain off this water. All right, so now, I'm going to dump these potatoes out onto a towel. I'm going to dry them off very well. Looking pretty dry. All right, so now let's get some flavor onto these potatoes. Now, potatoes can take quite a bit of seasoning, and this is where a lot of recipes fail. They just don't add enough salt. Potatoes can really handle it. So this is a teaspoon of salt and a 1/2 teaspoon of ground black pepper. Now, I've got 4 tablespoons of melted unsalted butter. No clarified butter. We don't need to do that. 1.5 teaspoons of fresh chopped rosemary. And this is an optional ingredient. If you just want it to taste like potato, you can do that. Just skip the rosemary. Now remember that we wanted to control the starch levels, so we got rid of the surface starch. We're gonna add some back. It's a tablespoon of cornstarch. Now I'm gonna dump in the potatoes.
All these are gonna fit in this.
All those are gonna fit in that. All right, so now using the 2 best kitchen tools in the world, just gonna toss this until it's evenly coated with that cornstarch, butter, salt, pepper, rosemary mixture. All right, so I think that looks evenly coated. Now I've got 1 extra tablespoon of unsalted butter is going to go right into the pan, and we just want to swirl that around. Pan is cold, just to get it to coat. So if you have to use your hands, that's fine too. Just that little bit of butter is going to give us extra protection, prevent the potatoes from sticking. Let's start putting this galette together. So I'm going to take the first layer, and this is the one that everybody's going to see, and they're going to make fun of you if it's not pretty, I know.
It's happened to Bridget.
So I've just got one right in the center, and just kind of starting to layer out. I've got one more layer, and then last layer here. Now, Chris, this is as precious as I'm going to be. That's it.
That's fine.
Can you handle it?
Yeah, I can handle that.
So the rest are now going to go right on top. And I'm not going to arrange them, but I do want to make sure that it's a nice even layer. So you do want to fill up any gaps. And you can see, Chris, I've gotten every last one of these potatoes into that 10-inch nonstick skillet. So we're going to start this on the stovetop, medium-high heat. We're going to cook this just for about 5 minutes right here, really until we start to hear it sizzling. And we should start to see just a little bit of a translucency around the edge.
All right.
All right, so we've got sizzle. So we need to give this some great cohesion. So I'm going to show you what we're going to do. I've got a piece of foil, been sprayed with vegetable oil spray. I'm going to put it sprayed side down right onto the potatoes. Now, I'll weigh it down with a cake pan. Let me just move this right off to the side. Now, we could just press this down a little bit for some cohesion here, but we want to maintain that pressure down on the potatoes. So I'm going to use pie weights. How about that? We got your pie weights in. The pie weights and the cake pan are going to give us that nice even weight all around the surface of the potatoes. All right, so this is going to go into a 450-degree oven, and I've got the oven rack at the very bottom. That's so we can get some nice heat right on the bottom of this pan. It's going to go in there 20 minutes with the foil and cake pan on, then 20-25 minutes with the foil and cake pan off. That's so extra moisture can evaporate.
Got it.
Oh, it smells so good. Oh, but we are not quite ready to eat it, of course, and I'm going to remind myself that this handle is very hot by keeping it wrapped with a towel.
Good idea.
So I'm going to put this back on medium heat because you can see it's kind of sticking to the bottom of the pan a little bit. That's the cornstarch and the actual sugars from the potatoes have kind of caramelized on the bottom. I'm just going to shake this. So this can take up to 2 minutes, but sooner in our case, so we are ready to turn this out.
So you know it's ready when you just shake it and it moves around.
That's right.
Okay.
It's mobile.
Got it.
All right. So again, this is still hot. Got 2 hands wrapped around here. Flip it out. Again, it's hot.
Ooh,
beautiful.
Boy, that looked good.
Now, you've got an example of something that is not
You want to put them side by side here?
so gorgeous. Oh, sure. Why not?
Okay.
Just give that a slice there. See, it just falls,
it falls apart. Yeah, I've actually done this.
Yeah, and you can
Yeah.
see inside, it's kind of sloppy, wet potato.
Yeah.
And you know why that happened?
I guess you're going to tell me.
Whether you like it or not, I'm going to tell you.
Insufficient cohesion.
That's right,
Yeah.
insufficient
I knew it.
cohesion. Yep, you didn't have enough pressure on this. So the cake pan with the pie weights really holds that pressure right on the potatoes, makes them beautiful like this. So right into the center.
Ooh, I can hear that crispy top.
Absolutely. Lovely slice of potato galette there. Now you can see how it just holds together beautifully. And the potatoes are cooked through. They're actually quite fluffy too.
You know, this is really good. Well, you said it's almost fluffy inside. So a great potato galette starts with Yukon Golds, which we rinsed and added back the cornstarch to have full control over that cohesion. Put it in a nonstick skillet, 1 layer nicely done. The rest of them go in 5 minutes, and then cake pan weights foil into a very hot oven, 20 minutes, and then off, and finish it. Super simple recipe. You can get this recipe and all the recipes from this season at americastestkitchentv.com. You can also download our tastings, testings, and watch selected episodes. You can also follow us on Twitter and Facebook. This is excellent.
Thank you.
America's Test Kitchen is brought to you by DCS by Fisher & Paykel. America's cooks rely on innovation and culinary precision. DCS by Fisher & Paykel. offering premium indoor and outdoor kitchen appliances. For over 50 years, Miracle-Gro products have helped home chefs grow fresh vegetables and herbs. Miracle-Gro soils and plant foods provide the essential nutrients plants need to grow bountiful produce. Gardening tips are available online at miraclegrow.com. By Cooking.com, an online retailer for the kitchen enthusiast. If it's not in your kitchen, try ours. Chateau Saint Michel. Digital wine cellar and pairings can be found online. From our hands to your table. Recipes available at californiaavocado.com. And by Kohler. Diamond Crystal Salt, the gourmet choice. Plum Amazins from Sunsweet.